Okay, so we've started the Ender 3 Pro build, and we are on step 1. We need 4 pieces of the M5 by 45, and we need sections 16 and 15. 16 has the 2 holes just at the bottom, and 15 has a single hole just there and one just there. And if we go over to the machine, you'll see the 2 holes there, one there and one higher up. That is the bolt for section. Yeah? No, Deb, I'm filming. That is the bolt. It's an M5 by 45. You need 4. In my bag there were 5, so I guess is a spare one. Okay, so step 2 is simply adding the display to the front and the power supply to the side. We need 5 by 8 2 pieces and 4 by 20 2 pieces, and as you can see there, the 5 by 8 hold the display in place and the other 2 hold the power supply in place, and that is simply a matter of lining them up with the end of the alloy bar. I've just nipped those up again. I've tried to make it neat by allowing a little bit of twist so it lines up quite neatly there. The same with the power supply. There is a little bit of movement. Also, these are still loose at the moment because I think we're going to have to nip those up once they've sort of self-aligned when you've put other bits on. And that is what that looks like. There is a gap underneath there which you can see. Don't know where this is going to route yet, so I've just left it hanging out. I've also made sure that the voltage selector is on the correct power system for the UK, which it is now, and that is stage 2. Okay, stage 2 is a limit switch, and that was the thing I said was on a plastic mount. They are showing you there the captive nut position. Obviously there is a groove in here, and you've got to unscrew these screws, feed it in from the top, and make sure the captive nuts are lined up, and I just slid it down. Now you can see obviously if that captive nut is okay, I can get it in focus, but you can't see if the other one's okay because there's no way to actually see it. But I've just nipped those up. I've also made sure, because there is a little bit of twist on this if you want to be, I've actually lined it up with the side here, the actual alloy. Just made sure that is flush there. So that limit switch is stage 2. Okay, so step 4 is just adding the stepper motor here. That is item number 8. That is secured with 2 pieces of M4 by 18 P countersunk. They are just there and there. And the other thing you've got to put in is the rod here. Now don't fully tighten those because you'll find that this can be twisted, and if you go right to the top it can be hanging off one way by the time you get up here. So make sure that is smack bang in the middle there. Trying to get it lined up with the camera so you don't think it's off, but get it lined up there, and then nip these 2 Allen bolts up, and that hopefully should be good. That also needs nipping up. The bottom one is already done, so you're just closing that gap down, and that is gripping on the rod. Okay, and that is step 4. Okay, step 5, a little bit more fiddly. This is 4 by 16, 2 pieces, part number 18, part number 6, and the little filament feed pipe, which basically is one of those. That is just put in there and nipped up with the supplied spanner. The bar is this one with 3 there and 1 and then 2 holes there. You've just got to feed those 2 bolts through, and then you can put the Allen key in through the top 2 holes there and down and nip those up. A little bit more fiddly, but yeah, not too complicated. Limit switch there, and that is step 5. Okay, so step 6 is just putting the head and this bearing carrier onto the same bit that we were just working on, again using those M4x16s. That literally just slides on from one end, so the bearings and the nylon wheels are in the track. As you can see, that just slides along, and then this piece goes on that way round again with the 2 bolts. Again, there is a lot of movement on this when it's loose, so you can just push it and it lines up completely flat with the bar, or if you loosen them and push it back up, you could get a millimetre gap between this metal plate and the actual bar. So I'm just guessing at the moment it's best to line everything up flush and in alignment. So yeah, pretty straightforward again, and you can see now that that limit switch comes into play there. This feels very, very smooth. It all looks good at the moment. So that was step 6. Okay, so step 7 looks simple enough, but it's a bit of an interesting one. So you have a look at this there and there. The image is a little bit blurred at this point, and I mean, it's just simply popping that bit on there. But again, you've got captive nuts, and you can get this, like I've done at the moment, it's pointing down a bit, so you can adjust this back up. And the other thing is exactly where I've got that captive bolt pretty much flush with the bar, and that's my interpretation of the image we're looking at here. But yeah, it's not entirely clear, is it, to be honest? Hopefully that is correct, but I'm going to have to loosen that and tighten it back up again so it is square, because it certainly isn't at the moment. Hopefully you can see at the moment it is pointing down a bit, it's going down way at the end, so we'll give that another go. So step 7 part 2, I guess this will be. That's been loosened, and you can just sort of click it a little bit and it looks like it's now running pretty level with the bar that it's screwed into. The captive nuts are in the right orientation. You can just see those, hopefully. There, just see them. So that is 7, and hopefully that's aligned correctly. Okay, so step 10 couldn't be any easier. We have the top bar to put on, the 2 plastic end caps with 4 M25, sorry, M5 by 25, and that is now on, as you can see. Make sure you have put the bar the right way round, and the Allen key can go right in properly. That's the end cap in place. Now again, as I've done, the bottom screws are not fully tightened yet. I have aligned this upright with the bar, so there's no gap here. I've tried to keep them flush at both ends, hopefully keeping it all aligned that way. Same with the end, you can't see it now because of the cap, but try to move the upright slightly to align as best it can with the overhead bar, and that hopefully is 10 done, and on to 11. So step 11 is just fitting the spool holder, and pretty straightforward. The little captive nuts will go into the channel here, so spin them around so they're in the right position with a little screwdriver. Get the first screw in, put the second one into the channel, and just slide it across, and then get the second screw in. Nothing very complicated. This is going to be changed though. With one of the modifications, it is fitted down on the side somewhere. It's a much better way of doing things apparently, especially as it feeds in through here, I think somewhere, yeah, through there. So yeah, that is step 11. So we've completed 11, we are now on to 12, and it literally is just the wiring, and it's all gone just fine. A lot of it is obvious, it's all labelled, obviously power, Y, Z, and we've got a E going into there. We've got the other one, that is a Y, I think, going into there, but then we have one last one to do, which is X, but if you look carefully you will see some damaged pins, so I'm going to have to carefully bend those back into place, and then the wiring will be completed. So back in a minute. Okay, so all done. I managed to just straighten out the pins and got that connector in. We've fed the PTFE tube into there. Don't know how to cable tie these all up yet. We're going to have a little look online, I think. There doesn't appear to be any guidance with the instructions here as to where those cable ties go. The plug for the display goes into the number 3 port. It looks like they're all the same, but I have it on good authority that they're not. So port nearest the machine, and hopefully we are good to power this up. But that's the build completed. Pretty straightforward, shouldn't be anything really to catch you out. Possibly the belt's a little bit fiddly, but if you remember to have the belt hanging off of the back here where the nut is, and then pull it over and make sure the alignment is correct. That is nice and smooth. You can see the belt is just on this end, just touching that edge. But I'm sure that's how it's supposed to be. I doubt whether this machine is unique or faulty in any way. So that's pretty much it. So next thing to do will be to fire it up. So I was just checking the connections everywhere and the free movement of the turntable, and I was just going to plug in hang on, I was going to say plug in the USB drive, but of course it hasn't got a standard USB port. It's got one of the smaller ones, so I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do with that. Interesting. I guess we need some sort of adapter. I just have to go online, I think, and have a quick look at that and see what that port's for as well. There's a card in there, but I don't think that's the right port for it. Oh, interesting, why the hell would they not fit a standard USB port to plug this card into if that's what it is? Anyway, bit of research there, but the reason for this little additional video, watch this. You can power it up by moving the motors. I suspect that is probably not the best electronics design in the world. I mean, for God's sake, it's not even plugged in, and you can power it up with the motors. Oh my God. I don't know whether it's just that one. No, look, you can power it up with any of the motors. Back EMF. Oh dear. Okay, catch you later. Okay, so moment of truth, we are going to fire this up. I think I'll just leave that display covering on there for the minute. So, oh, there we go, it's promising. Fan going up here. Let's have a little look at this display. I've hit auto home, so I don't know quite what it's going to do now. Didn't like the look of that. Pressing that down, that can't be right, so that's why I turned it off. So that's just moving that by the amount set. See if we can go and move one of the other axes so we can just test them. Whoops. Okay, that is the y-axis. Going to do the X. Oh, I think we got something wrong here. That surely isn't right. That is moving, that stepper motor, so I think we'll be back in a minute. That is feeding the filament. I've done something wrong there. Build is now complete. The mistake I had made was plugging the extruder into one of the other motors, so it is back. E for extruder, pretty obvious really. I don't know how I made it into the wrong socket, I've no idea, but yeah, that is X, and then yeah, so all done. I have absolutely no idea how to initialize it now and actually set it all up. We've obviously got to level the plate. We've got to, I assume it needs to set up the endpoints, so yeah, I think we're going to have to go onto their website, see if there is a guide to actually setting it up and levelling everything off, but seems to be all set up and fine, and well, there'll be another video on the initial setup when I've worked out how to do it.